everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, September 29th, 2024. I don't know, am I watching Y&R or am I watching an episode of Dateline? Well, a simple case of murder gone wrong. What? What is going on here? Sharon, you missed. Girl, you missed your target. You were supposed to kill Daniel. Daniel, not Heather. Dang. At any point, you could have just walked right past Heather and walked out the door. You didn't have to kill her. So unnecessary. I mean, that's just me and my perspective, but I feel like the murder was a little unnecessary. Oh, Heather. My Heather. You guys know I'm sad because I love Heather. But I love this drama more. I will say, there's nobody that I love so much that I won't accept seeing them die for my entertainment. Ooh. And, at least Heather died looking beautiful and tan. She died wearing a white tank top, by the way. That really should have been my first sign that she was a goner, because she who wears white dies. I mean, for maximum blood stain effect, the character who dies must be wearing white. Yes. And Sharon did the whole thing wearing Walmart winter gloves, brown, to match the tracksuit. So, hey, we had some fashion worked in here, too. Nothing disappointed. And nothing disappointed. Oh. What a week. I mean, where do I even begin? Where do I begin? But I mean, I guess I'm just gonna start at the beginning when we're back in the back in the hotel room. Cameron tells Sharon, do it. Here, you got the poison. She revealed the poison out of a little baggie. And she's pretending like she doesn't know what it is, which is this great cognitive dissonance. She sees the bag is just there on the bed. She's pretending she doesn't know what's in it. And then she pulls it out and reveals the poison. And Cameron says to her, do it, Sharon. Pour that son of a bitch his final drink. Daniel deserved to die, not Cassie. Ah! Ugh. So Sharon goes to Daniel's empty apartment to casually poison him. Whenever it gets around to it, poison it. He let him die at his own, pace. But no blood, no, just poison. No blood, but real casual, like no body would have needed to be wrapped in a bed sheet. Just a simple squirt of poison into the old whiskey bottle. Wait a few days, and then just sit back and play dumb when the news comes out that the guy you've been harassing just mysteriously dropped dead of poisoning in his own apartment. It was the perfect crime. It was the perfect crime. But when Sharon got there, that's when the arguing with Cameron began. And that's when everything became way more complicated. She was going back and forth about whether or not she was going to do it. She went through with it. She did it, and then she changed her mind. But, you know, it was like, you know, first she's going to do it, then she's not going to do it. Then she knocks over a tray of glass, and oh man, now I got to clean that up. Man. I have to say, the scenes in Daniel's apartment between Sharon and Cameron, when Sharon and Cameron were just alone together, arguing about the poison, for some reason, that was the first time when my mind really, really locked in to how completely sick and out of it Sharon really is. And that, you know, even though we've been watching two people on the screen for months now, I think, you know, it really sunk into me as she's standing there in the apartment that all of this arguing, all of this contemplating, it's really happening in her head. She's really just arguing with herself. This was her inner dialogue, and the way that Y&R filmed it so that throughout it all, Cameron was there sometimes, and then he was not there sometimes. And I really appreciated the way that his sarcasm was contrasting the severity of the moment. I mean, there was just so much going on there. And I think because just seeing Sharon standing in the apartment, it really just hit me. Cameron said 100 times, Sharon, I'm you. But I think maybe just taking Sharon out of her usual environment and just having her there at Daniel's place, arguing with herself, it just really all sunk into me in that moment that this is not and has never been Sharon versus Cameron. Of course, we know this. I know this cognitively, but it sunk in for me that it was really just Sharon's right mind versus Sharon's wrong mind. And when she was arguing with him, it really was just the battle for her sanity, you know, and she tried. You could see that she was trying to fight it. Anytime she was being Sharon and fighting against what was about to happen, that was her trying to fight it. And we also saw that she tried to take her meds in the hotel room. There was a moment where we saw that. We saw her try to take the medication. We saw her try to fight it, but it was too late by then. By then, she was already too far down the path. For all these months, we've seen Cameron standing there in that bloody shirt, alluding to the reason that Sharon wanted him there. Is it Cassie? Is it Nick? But no, this week it was revealed that the reason that Sharon summoned Cameron was to summon her killer instinct. A month ago, Cameron cryptically said, the reason that you conjured me will all be revealed. And so it turned out it was Sharon conjuring the courage to just get rid of Daniel once and for all. I mean, we spent months staring at that blood-stained shirt that Cameron was wearing. That blood-stained shirt was evidence of Sharon's killer instinct. She killed before. She could do it again. That was the plan. But the plan went wrong. Heather came home just as Sharon was leaving the apartment. Of course. Nice moment of suspense there, by the way. Nice cliffhanger for that episode. Heather at the door of her own apartment, and Sharon's inside. Opens up the door and Sharon's inside. And Heather, at first, handled the fact that Sharon was in there surprisingly well, I thought. Like, she didn't immediately freak out. She actually stood there and talked to Sharon. And Sharon tried selling a story that Daniel had just, invited her to come on in. And, I think that was the pivotal point where it was all too late. There was no going back, because that lie, Daniel told me to just come on in, that lie was never going to be believable. So the actions that Sharon had to take to cover up that lie just had to become bigger and then bigger and then bigger. And when that lie didn't work, Sharon tried crying. She tried getting sympathy from Heather. She tried getting mad and indignant and threatening. But Heather knew that it was wrong. And she made the mistake of trying to call the police right in front of Sharon. I was thinking, and I'm sure everyone was thinking, Heather, just let the crazy lady out of the apartment. Just tell her what she wants to hear, and then get her out of there, lock the door as quick as you can, and then call the police. Just let the police pick her up. You do not have to deal with this right now. If you absolutely are so attached to your phone and needing to use it, then use the camera and press record or something. Maybe she did. Maybe she did. But as far as we know, at this point in the story, she didn't. And so there was a struggle. And at first, Heather just passed out. But then she woke up and apparently was too weak to fight back. And then out of nowhere, like, we last saw Heather just kind of looking up, giving Sharon an evil stare. And then Sharon blacked out and we blacked out. And when we came back, Heather was in a bloody, twisted mess on the floor. What? Oh, what? The fuzz. I mean, I don't know. I do not know. But I feel like the blackout is really key to unlocking this whole story, because Sharon doesn't remember it now, but eventually she will get her memory back, or she will realize that Heather actually was recording on that phone what happened, and then it will be revealed, I think, probably through the phone, that, I don't know, maybe Sharon killed Heather in self-defense, or Heather tripped on something and, fell on her own and cracked her own head open, or something like that will exonerate Sharon. And, then we're just going to chalk up the whole disposing of the body thing to temporary insanity. Kind of like when Phyllis killed Jeremy Stark in a hotel room, not too unsimilar to the hotel room that Sharon was in. Phyllis stabbed Jeremy with a pair of scissors in self-defense, and then everybody just stopped talking about the whole dumping him in the river part. And that's the same thing that's about to happen to Sharon. Same thing. Heather's dead. Sharon realizes Heather's dead. And she's got no time to waste. She has got to cover this up, Cameron says. So, Sharon, before our very eyes, ties Heather up in blankets, and the moment where she realized that the blood was seeping through the sheets, and then she almost vomited. I almost vomited. Ugh. I seriously felt nauseous as Sharon was dragging Heather's body out into the hall, and Cameron goes, she's leaving a trail. And then we look back, and there's this awful streak of blood following along behind her. I feel nauseous just thinking about it right now. Ugh. Especially when she grabbed the rags. Ugh, God, and she's just smearing the blood all over the floor. It's like not even cleaning up the blood. She's just smearing it all around, like pretending she's gonna clean that up. How do you even clean up that much blood? What detergent do you use? I don't know. I'm new to this. And then she drags poor Heather down the stairs. I mean, surely she would have to have gone back and cleaned up all of that too. If Heather was bleeding in the hallway, she had to have been bleeding all the way down the stairs too. So, gee, I hope nobody's using the stairs tonight. Because you're going to walk up on that scene. But Sharon had to do it. I mean, you can't drag the dead body down the elevator, through the lobby, and out the front door. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So Sharon tosses Heather into the back of her sensible Wisconsin-plated vehicle, and she drives out to the old bridge in the night, in the darkness, under cover of darkness, with the moonlight and the headlights shining a light on what she's doing. And then Sharon asks for forgiveness as she pushes Heather over the bridge, watching her body slowly disappear, sinking deeper and deeper down into the water. And then she goes to the car and she lets out a blood-curdling scream cry that honestly just made me feel ill. A lot of this just made me feel ill. But that moment, watching her in the car, as her face basically ripped apart, as if the horror of what she had just done was trying to escape. Man. She goes back to the hotel room, and the first question she asked Cameron was, first question she asked herself was, how do I live with this? And yeah, honestly, that's what I'm wondering too, because there ain't no coming back from this. There ain't no cleaning up that image from your mind with a bunch of rags. I mean, you can go ahead and explain it eventually as, I don't know, temporary insanity, but that doesn't wash the blood stain from your mind. There's this little reserved part of me that keeps thinking, okay, next week Sharon is going to wake up and this is all going to be revealed as a nightmare. But I know that that is not true. And you want to know how I know that that is not true? Because out of nowhere, for no explicable reason, a couple of weeks ago, Chance became a cop again. I didn't even know that society served knuckle sandwiches. But on Monday, Billy walked right up to Adam and ordered one. Wonder if that was Lola's recipe. You know, that was a pretty good punch. And it's been a while since we've had a good punch. You know, that punch was the male equivalent of the cat fight. The punch is the male equivalent of the cat fight, and it's been a while. And coming from Adam, it's sort of just surprising because Adam, I don't know, he must be really on edge about his recent relationship revelation because, you know, he's not usually the type to go swinging. And Billy's not usually the type to hold back. Of course, Billy had Phyllis there, keeping him on a leash. And yeah, I mean, Billy's basically always got to have someone there keeping him on a leash. Right now it's Phyllis. A few months back it was Lily. A few years back it was Victoria. And this week Victoria did try to reassume that role. She went straight to Billy and offered him her buyout deal. But as, you know, I predicted, of course he would say no. He said, you know, no. And by the way, what exactly makes you so sure that if I go to war with Victor, that Victor's gonna win? I mean, honestly, I think the conversation with Victoria made Billy feel more determined. Like, why doesn't anybody believe in me? Well, Phyllis believes in me. Did you notice that I did not include Chelsea on the list of women who have held Billy on a leash? You know, it's interesting because that's been the dynamic of all of his relationships except with Chelsea. I think Chelsea and Billy's relationship was actually kind of unique in that way. I think Chelsea and Billy treated each other more like equals. I don't know. I'm more interested, I guess, in what is going to be the future relationship that Billy will have with Sally. Because Sally told Audra this week about what happened with Adam. It was like, the role of Chloe is now being played by Audra. Because Audra was definitely like, oh, that lying, cheating dog, you know. And Audra's advice was, girl, you need to have revenge. And then you need to have sex. And maybe you should have some revenge sex, too. Yeah. Audra's the new Chloe. How did Chloe get left out of that? If there's anybody who really wants to get in and I told you so about Adam, it would be Chloe. But, I don't know. Audra's the one who's now pumping Sally up on revenge. And Adam certainly gave Billy a reason for revenge with that punch. So I'd say that Billy and Sally are perfectly poised to do some future rubbing in the faces of their lying, cheating exes. I'm an open book, said Cole last week. And that was our quote. I don't know, I thought it was a cute moment. Not that it's such an unusual line, I'm an open book, but that it was coming from an author. You know, Cole is an author, so I thought that was a really cute moment of good writing for him, too. I'm an open book. Everybody thought that it was Phyllis, but it was Cole. So I have to say congratulations to Ron, Henry, Justin, Brittany, Tanya, and Kamna, because you guys guessed it right. Oh my goodness, who said this? Till death do us part. Who said it? If you think you know this week, go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. If you get it right, I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. And now, let's get to your comments. Daisy says, and the Emmy goes to Sharon Case. That seems like the perfect comment to start us off with. And the Emmy goes to Sharon Case. The crowd applause. Oh, yeah, woo, woo. I think we all know there is no doubt about that. This has been a really well put together anniversary episode for, I think it's 30 years for Sharon Case on the show. I mean, the flashbacks, of course, were fantastic. Y&R definitely dug in and showed us some new stuff, but also the main story here was really, it'd been well done. It was well filmed. So, I mean, it was Sharon Case, absolutely yes, but also the lighting, the music, the use of the green screen. I thought it's all been very, very good quality. It felt like watching a movie, you know? But now to the question of the week. Was it a nightmare? Was it all just a dream? Naomi says, dream or reality? Sharon is faced with the emptiness of fulfilling her revenge fantasy, yet nothing changes. Cassie's still dead, and Daniel's still living. And Gary says, yes, the fatal mistake of thinking that revenge can bring anyone back. I mean, that it's great. It is the fatal mistake, right? And then to get to the end of all of this, to have gone through all of this, and Cassie's still dead, and Daniel's still living. Amazing. But I think that we need to make this the poll question of the week. I would like to ask you guys to vote on whether or not you think this is all going to be revealed as a dream. Sharon killing Heather? Is this a dream or is this our reality? Go to yrchat.com this week and cast your vote and let me know if you think we are just going to have a twist and it's like none of it going to be true, this was all Sharon's fantasy and part of a hallucination, or are we really going here? Will this stick? Whether it's for, a week, a month, whatever, will this ultimately be the case? Brent says, unless this turns out to be a dream sequence and Heather isn't really dead, I don't see an easy way that Sharon comes back from this. Even in soap opera world, I don't think insanity's easy to plead anymore, and there's no way she gets away with it. Hers wasn't exactly a mafia cleanup job, despite the encouragement that Cameron gave her. I'm sure there's plenty of evidence to implicate Sharon. I mean, no doubt. She's been harassing their family for weeks now. I mean, if Heather's body washes up on shore, there is no way that Daniel is not going to connect the dots immediately. One thing though, as far as just backing up one sec into Naomi's comment, Cassie's still dead, Daniel's still living, even though all this happened. I will say this. Daniel took someone from Sharon, so Sharon took someone from Daniel. Ugh. Daisy says, I'm hoping that, like with Cameron, Sharon hallucinated the confrontation with Heather. Nothing really happened. Heather is fine. Sharon, though, believes that she killed Heather, and in her delusional state, not knowing that she's been hallucinating, Sharon returns home, tries to act as if she's fine, and then at some point, the fragile Sharon sees Heather at the coffee house. She thought the screams were outside, but it was her screaming, and then Sharon is then hospitalized for her own protection. I wish. Yeah, I know. I keep thinking, okay, it could be a twist and boom, Heather's actually alive, but I don't know, you guys. Lori says, Sharon cannot have killed Paul's daughter. It has to be a dream. Technically, the character of Heather is one of the oldest on the show. I'm dying to see what's next. What a uniquely shot and compelling episode. Yes. I know, right? I mean, this is Paul's daughter. Y&R has, you know what? Darn it. I didn't think about this before, but Y&R has definitely ushered Paul out of the landscape. Several years back, they killed Paul's only son, and now they're killing Paul's only daughter. seems a little short-sighted. And again, I really liked Heather and I really like Vale Bloom. Bummer. But I just knew, I don't know, somehow I just knew this was not gonna last. And it's a nice bait and switch that we were all expecting the horrendousness to befall Daniel. And it was Heather instead. Steven says, my son is grieving the loss of Heather. He's hoping that this is a dream season a la Dallas 9th season. I love Dallas. You know you're speaking my language. I love Dallas. And I can see it happening. I could see it being a dream sequence, but I think it's going to go the way of Heather's body shows up. There's an investigation. Sharon starts freaking out. Who knows? Maybe she gets arrested. But I think ultimately whatever happened during the blackout is going to show up on Heather's phone. Maybe Heather pushed record, or at least even if it's audio, there will be something that reveals that whatever happened during the blackout was just self-defense or an accident or something, and then everybody's just gonna go meh to the whole fact that Sharon disposed of the body. Diana says, the storyline with Sharon and her twisted mind is very intense. I have not been on the edge of my seat with a storyline like this in a very long time. Okay, I just have to pause there, Diana, because on Friday, I was like getting my chores done, and I said out loud, I'm like, I gotta go watch Y&R because it's getting good. And I haven't said that in I haven't felt like I need to watch Y&R right now in a long time. I mean, I watch it as part of my routine and I enjoy it very much. But on Friday, I was like, I got to get to the end of my day so that I can see this episode. Diana continues, when Sharon was in the motel room and there was someone knocking on the door, it was so gripping and creepy. A knock on the door can be so spooky as long as you don't know what's on the other side. That's what makes it so intense and scary. The knock was subtle but steady and consistent, and it made it so frightening. It was especially gripping knowing that Sharon was alone with no one to come to her rescue. And when she opened the door and it was Daniel speaking to Sharon and then falling to his death at her feet, what a surprise. Y&R has done a great job with the creativity of this story, from incorporating Kirsten's character into Sharon Case's acting. It's been very entertaining to watch. That's the other thing, Diana, too, is I feel like Y&R gave us a nightmare. And it was the Daniel thing. It was the slow knocking at the door and then him creepily saying, Cassie, and then falling to his death. That was the nightmare. That was the freak out. Because we came into that episode thinking that knocking, what's going on? And then she woke up from the dream. They're not going to do that again. The dream that she had with the knocking, that was the nightmare. What happened with Heather is the reality. That's my opinion. Steven says Daniel might end up being the fall guy. I hope he has an airtight alibi for the past 10 hours or so. That's true. Okay. What if Heather's body washes up and Chance thinks that Daniel did it? They were disagreeing about whether or not to leave town. I mean, who knows how that can be twisted to make it seem like Daniel did it. And then what if Daniel's like on trial for Heather's murder and it's just continually eating at Sharon and she finally realized she has to save Daniel from that fate? That'd be a little bit of a redemption-y type moment. I mean, it's not really, but that might be seen as balancing the soap opera scales a little bit. Ooh, we've got potential for where this is going to go. And the question is, what now? Robin says, the best 2-day episodes in Y&R history. Not only Sharon's acting, but the writing, the filming, it had me on the edge of my seat. Now what will happen with Lucy and Daniel? Is Sharon going to take a vacation or retire with a confession? She would not have a trial. My guess is that she'll have an insanity sentence and will be home in a year. In reality, an insanity plea won't work because she disposed of the body, showing she knew it was wrong. But she'll undergo hypnosis and they'll determine self-defense, and Sharon will get involuntary manslaughter, not usually much time served. But Lucy's really going to have issues now. She and Faith will become arch enemies. Oh yeah, how about that righteous indignance about Lucy and her taking, you know, having some vodka and Faith having to drive her home. Oh, all of a sudden those tables are going to be turned. Well, nothing compares to the fact that your mom killed my mom. It's hard to come back from. It's hard to have a good friendship when your mom killed my mom. Oh, Robin says, and this is an older comment, but Robin said, it just dawned on me when Sharon was in Daniel's apartment with the poison, what the purpose of Lucy's drinking story is. Chug, chug, Lucy. Lucy will be sneaking her parents' liquor just like many teens do at that age. Yes, 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 Robin. This was my thought too. As soon as Sharon put the poison in the bottle, put the bottle back into the cabinet, I thought, oh, Lucy's going to be the one to get the alcohol. And, you know, I have to imagine that was an intentional fake out by Y&R, like to keep the viewers guessing what would really happen. Because I feel like we probably all had that reaction that, well, how do we know that Daniel's going to drink it? Lucy's the one who's been sneak drinking, you know, I mean, so that seed was there. They breadcrumbed us there to maybe thinking that was what was going to happen, and then they twisted it in another direction. I mean, this is just it's been a very good story, even though there's definitely some impossibilities. Gary points out that Heather must weigh a ton. I can't believe that Sharon picked her up. I was thinking that too when she was picking her up and dragging her and then just like throwing her into the trunk. I'm like, that's dead. I'm sure dead body, even as small as Heather was, is heavier than you think. But Robin chalks it up to adrenaline, and Sharon is also used to carrying large sacks of coffee. How about that? Sharon she can handle carrying a dead body. She's all the time carrying around sacks of coffee at Crimson Lights. So there you go. Diana says, I can't believe how easy it is to obtain poison in Genoa City. Apparently it comes in a very convenient bottle with an eyedropper. That's the kicker, Diana. That's funny. The fact that it had an eyedropper is the real comedy cherry on top of the cake. You know, deadly poison with an eyedropper. Diana also points out it's unbelievable that Sharon lifted and dragged a dead body from the apartment on her own and then somehow managed to put Heather in her car and throw her over the bridge. In the movies, you see 2 or 3 men lifting bodies. This is why I'm hoping it was all a dream. That would have made a lot more sense and we could forgive the silliness. I also don't think Y&R will have Sharon be a killer of an innocent person. I know, it's a choice, isn't it? It certainly is a choice. T. Nicole says, Daniel, Heather, and Lucy's apartment is in the same building as billionaire Devon has lived. There is no way that there is not security cameras that would have captured Sharon breaking into their apartment. Yes, T. Nicole, and security cameras absolutely would have caught Sharon dragging a body down the stairwell. I mean, there's security cameras everywhere. Certainly it would be in the stairwell. Robin says, plus the blood will show with the police light. Hopefully Sharon turned off Heather's phone, or it'll get a ping, and the cops will find blood in Sharon's trunk. Chance will solve the case. Sharon will go to the nut house and get therapy and then be released. Sharon isn't retiring, is she? Oh, I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about Sharon Case retiring, but you know, I love that you made a point about the phone, because I didn't really talk about that, because Sharon at the end of Friday's episode had an epiphany at Cassie's grave, and she was like, I know what I have to do now. And it almost sounded like, oh, is she gonna confess? Because that's probably what Cassie would have actually told her to do. But then in the previews, Daniel is getting a message from Heather's phone, and Heather's saying that she left town. So Sharon has hung on to Heather's phone. We saw her put it in the little duffel bag, And she has now come up with a cover story. So she's not confessing. She's texting Daniel from Heather's phone saying, sorry, I'm leaving town. Hope Sharon grabbed the charger, because we don't know how much hold there is on that phone. Maybe she can get a compatible charger. I don't know. But that also is what tells me if the phone is still in play, there's going to be some video or audio footage in it. Because, you know, sure, there's security cameras in the hall, but how are we going to get to the truth of what happened between them? It's Heather's phone. But yes, let's talk about those flashbacks. Tony says in comics or old movies, the type of inner turmoil Sharon is experiencing is often depicted by two imps, one on each shoulder, good and evil. Sharon has Cameron for evil. I think the show could have used another dead character depicting good. Maybe Cassie herself telling Sharon that it wasn't Daniel's fault, or this is not the way to remember her. Yeah, you know, and Tony, I think they kind of did that in the flashbacks, although it was only Sharon kind of having a one-sided conversation with Cassie. I really think that if Cassie had made an appearance at the graveside, then that really would have made the flashback episode complete. I see what you're saying in terms of it probably would have been better to have that going on throughout the story, but they could have at least tossed it in for the flashback episode. You know, I have to say, I was impressed that Y&R busted out the Cassie graveside set, which I think was the same. I mean, it was dark, but it looked the same as we've seen in the past. Nick and Sharon used to always visit that gravesite. That was a set for a while, and we saw the gravesite in flashbacks, the one where Sharon and Nick were discussing the fact that Cassie had told Sharon was pregnant, and Nick was saying that Cassie had told him that they would have another little girl someday. So they were at Cassie's grave then and in the current episode. Connie says the salute to Sharon case was excellent, and I saw some footage that was new to me. I started watching when Nick and Sharon split. Phyllis and Nick were about to get together, and that led to her pregnancy with Summer. Phyllis was dressed in Western clothing and doing a little line dance during a birthday party. Help me out, Allie, or another long-term viewer. Who was Mariah and Cassie's father, and what happened to him? Connie, I should have researched that, because I know it was the guy named Frank, right? He was, and she talked about it a little in the flashback, saying that Frank was an older kid and an older guy, I guess, and she thought that he loved her, but really he was just trying to get her virginity, trying to get sex out of her, and she had sex with him and got pregnant with one baby, which turned out to be two, apparently. But I don't know what happened to him. Darn it, that's what I should have looked up. Sorry. I was like, oh, I can tell you, it's Frank. But I don't know what happened to him. I feel like Y&R did bring him back at one point. Did he die? Did Sharon kill him? Something happened with Frank. Maybe somebody else can jump in there and fill in that blank. But I got to talk about last week's poll question, because I asked you guys whose mental health crisis story was better, Sharon or Ashley's. They were both kind of struggling with a breakdown, and maybe this is not surprising, but Sharon had a hands down 71% win on this one. People preferred Sharon's story to Ashley's. Sue W saying Sharon wins. She is an established mainstay resident of Genoa City, while Ashley has come and gone several times. Therefore, Sharon's crisis has had a domino effect, sucking in so many characters on so many levels, while Ashley's affected a much smaller circle, and Sharon's desperation has been consistently palatable. Ashley's was at times, but low-key or near comedic at other times, and ultimately continued off-screen. In my opinion, Sharon's story is the more compelling. You know, that's interesting too, because it's like Ashley's had a little, like the tiniest little bit of comedy to it, right? Whereas Sharon, I mean, there's no comedy here. Henry says, Sharon's mental health crisis makes Ashley's look like a walk in the park. Yeah, definitely. But I like this comment from Tony, who says, Sharon's crisis is more believable to viewers because we know her backstories. We witnessed the trauma and drama of Cassie's death and Cameron's harassment. Ashley had something in her past that caused her crisis, but they never explained what it was. If the audience knew what it was and remembered it while she was having episodes, we would have been more engaged. Tony, this is a pretty darn good point when comparing these two stories, I have to say. Sharon's story almost feels like a continuation of or a resolution of an old story, something that the viewers are familiar with. Ashley's story feels like the beginning of a new story, but where is it? I mean, we really didn't get that resolution. Y&R was like, yeah, Ashley had something in her childhood, but then they never circled back to it. But I mean, just the fact that, yeah, this feels like, it makes sense to me. Sharon, this story from Sharon makes sense to me. The fact that she would want Daniel's life makes sense to me, and it's actually surprising that it never came up before, you know? Well, Kamna says, even prior to the events of this week, I think Ashley's storyline is my preference. I found it more entertaining and compelling. Sharon is dark and twisty and now sad, over the top and tragic. But most of all, I liked how the Abbott family and Tucker were on to Ashley and calling her out while being supportive. Sharon's family, on the other hand, should go to jail for negligence. Yeah, they're all just spinning wheels. They don't know what to do. They don't know where she is. And none of them were like, maybe we should call the police. Connie says, I'm not sure one story is better than the other. The Ashley storyline was interesting because I liked the multiple personalities being done by one actress. And the bed scene was representative of each to help stage the personalities of a rare disorder. The audience was challenged to see who it was on any given day. The Sharon storyline is interesting because of the dialogue of an imaginary character that we can see. One actress is interacting with real and imaginary characters, and the scenes are in familiar places. Sharon, off her meds for bipolar, is more relevant to viewers versus Ashley in a health crisis that requires long-term psychiatric care. But they're equally effective because they are well acted and well done. Yeah, different, but both very good. Sherrod says, I love Sharon's better due to Cameron's involvement. Yes. But Marianne V says, I think Sharon's story is better, except I don't like the whole Cameron as a manifestation. I hope they conclude this before Daniel or Lucy gets hurt. Oh, Daniel or Lucy are definitely going to get hurt if Heather is indeed dead. But that was a little bit of an interesting... Marianne V, I don't think I've heard from anybody who doesn't like the Cameron part of it, so that's great to hear too. Victoria says Lyndon Ashby is so compelling to watch as Cameron. It's a shame he will eventually go away. He's a great diversion from the chess games of Genoa City corporate play. So many corporations and no products to sell. And Kamna says, I think a tech billionaire is just what Genoa City needs. Not to mention, he could be a love interest / rebound for Sally. And wouldn't it be great if somehow he's tied to Tucker and creates an opening for Tucker's return? But maybe he could be played by Lyndon Ashby. Maybe that'd be good. Maybe we could recast Cameron's twin brother as a new tech guy in town. Sexy new tech, although it might be hard to accept him as a romantic lead after all of this, but I don't know. Who am I kidding? Naomi says, Phyllis has out-Phyllised herself in the scenes with Daniel and Summer. I loved that her kids were gently making fun of her, and she didn't get all defensive. The champagne was flowing freely and she was in a fine mood. Yeah. And Lara says, Phyllis isn't hiding her narcissism at all these days. Every good thing that happens to her kids is because of her. Every everything she does that is bad is not her fault. Viewers who have a narcissistic parent must get the heebie-jeebies watching her. Yeah, it was pretty great. That was pretty comedy, but yes, narcissistic nonetheless. You know, I actually re-watched those scenes with Phyllis, Daniel, and Summer after I watched Sharon's Thursday episode, and it is clear that there are so many indicators that the stage is being set for Phyllis's reaction to what Sharon has done. Backing up and rewatching that scene with Phyllis, Summer, and Daniel, Phyllis was telling Daniel that she would, fix Sharon's wagon, fix Sharon's little red wagon for almost trying to run them out of town. And if that was Phyllis's reaction to that, then Phyllis is going to go nuclear when she finds out what Sharon has really done. And I don't know, maybe it's possible that Phyllis will be the one to put it all together. Phyllis has been telling Nick that Sharon needs to be committed. Well, how about this from Naomi? One early sign that Sharon was losing her stability was when she was so rude to Adam. He is usually in love with two women. He was longing for Sharon while with Chelsea, and Chelsea was so insecure she faked paralysis and was stuck in velour for months. Well, I love that point, that the way that Sharon sort of cut off Adam might have been the first sign of her instability. Sue W. says, your Adam reference gets me thinking again. Adam was besotted with Sharon for so long, and his feelings were quite passionately reciprocated for some time. Those two together were intense and obsessed, each for each other, and then it all kind of putzed out with loose ends. Sharon had forced herself to pull away, as I recall, half-heartedly, and Adam seemed to just be like, well, I'm devastated, but whatever. And so it went, most anticlimactically, and they were over. Is this how Adam and Sally are winding down? Adam, a thank you, next, and onward. Adam, thank you, next. I think it's interesting that Y&R did nothing to incorporate Adam into Sharon's mental health story. He certainly had a lot going on his own, but at least they sort of tried to fix that this week and brought it in at the end. Faith is crying at the park. Adam sees her. He tries to comfort her, and Faith tells Nick that Adam is now aware of what was going on with Sharon, and Nick doesn't seem to mind. So it was a little bit maybe too little too late, I will say. I probably really would have enjoyed seeing Adam involved in this storyline earlier and more. Sharon W. says, such a realistic punch from Adam at society, and a great fall by Billy. It looks like the battle has begun between them. Phyllis will be great in Billy's corner, but who will be there to hold Adam back? Oh, yeah. And Dolores says, hallelujah. For once, Adam didn't just stand there and take Billy's crap. He knocked him on his butt. Hooray for Adam to show that he has enough of the audacity of Billy to think that he owed him any explanation for a private conversation that he was having with Chelsea. I loved when he told Billy, and I'm paraphrasing it, you've lost your place as her rescuer when you ended the relationship. Pow! Billy deserved it. His hate led him to find out that he cannot bully Adam, nor will Adam be passive anymore. And Sherrod says, I was thrilled that Adam knocked the crap out of Billy. Adam usually takes the garbage talk from Billy and swallows his pride. Not this time. I loved it. And Gary says, Billy is YELLOW and ran away. And Adam is an intellectual who doesn't even believe in using his fists. Pow! It was quite surprising, but quite entertaining. Oh, well, we have had a really big week of really intense emotions. And so I think we should end this Y&R chat on a lighter topic, like cookies. Last week we talked a little bit about the debate of chocolate chip or oatmeal, which Phyllis brought upon us. And Sharon says, hey, Allie, I may be in the minority, but I prefer oatmeal raisin cookies to chocolate chip. Next is peanut butter, and then Macedonia nuts, maybe macadamia nuts. I actually don't like chocolate chip cookies at all. Well, Sharon, if we are throwing peanut butter cookies into this mix, that is really gonna mess me up. Because do you like the peanut butter cookies that are like the old-fashioned kind where you do the fork in the middle, you know, with the little crisscrossy of the fork, and then they're kind of crispy? Those are good. Tony says, I gotta give a comment on the cookie poll. Allie likes soft chocolate chip cookies. Recipes indicate that a chocolate chip cookie is cooked perfectly if the cookie is done and the chips remain melty. Oven temp and time will contribute to that. However, I prefer oatmeal, no add-ins, and I like them thin and crispy, maybe dunked in an Americano from Crimson Lights. Yes. I do like a big, soft, chewy chocolate chip cookie, but man, you're really making this crispy oatmeal cookie sound good. I mean, if we are dipping it in a Americano from Crimson Lights, that sounds fantastic. Yes. Just so long as Sharon doesn't serve up our Americano with a side of murder-o. So there you have it. Chocolate chip gets a run for its money. But it is not too late to vote in this week of heaviness. If you want to go to yrchat.com and continue to weigh on the intense debate of chocolate chip versus oatmeal, then please do. And if you want to just throw in some other delicious sounding cookies, that's okay with me too. We're dealing with a lot, okay? We had to watch something really gruesome and gross this week, and which it seems like universally everybody loved. I mean, I haven't heard from anyone who has not loved this storyline. But that being said, a little levity couldn't hurt. So feel free to go to yrchat.com, leave your cookie comments, or leave your comments about Sharon and the whole mess. Vote in the poll. Is this a dream or not? All of it's there at the website. I will be there. I'm glad to see you guys there, and I'll see you back here again next Sunday. Okay, everybody. I love you. Have a good week. Don't accidentally murder anyone. Bye.